Hey guys, and welcome back to the Laws of Physio YouTube page. And in this video, this is day 20 of the Practice What I Preach series. In this workout, I did some squats because I really want to get my squats back. And from the last squat session I did, I was finding out that my back was starting to act up a little bit. So today I'm using my wife's resistance bands just to engage my glutes a little bit more. So just doing a few squats just to warm up, and then I progressed in a little bit of weight today, but just keeping the reps high. And again, just working on my technique, just getting some conditioning back in my body and getting used to the form again. Today was a leg workout, so I followed up the squats with some hamstring curls and then some lunges, and then finished off with some hip or some groin work and some biceps, because who doesn't enjoy working their biceps and getting big biceps? Yeah, so today I want to talk about common knee injuries that I see. So the most common knee injury, or the thing that is most common with people who come to see me, is usually a patella tracking issue. So your patella is your kneecap, so you actually have a bone that's just floating in the middle of your knee, and the reason that is there is to increase the efficiency of your knee. So the kneecap is acting as a pulley. So every time you kind of bend your knee and straighten your knee, it's more efficient. You're not using as much energy as required to produce as much force. So nature did us a solid and turned this into a pulley system. So this is kind of going into the biomechanics of how your body and your knee and everything work. So without your kneecap, it becomes a lot more difficult to generate force and whatnot. So the fun thing about your kneecap is it is a floating bone, which means it's not directly attached to any other bone through a joint. Sorry, the microphone's acting all crappy at the moment. It's actually connected, and it's actually floating and controlled by a bunch of tendons and muscles. So your kneecap attaches to your quadricep muscles, which is the front of your thigh. It's also attached to your ITB on the side, which is a thick piece of fascia that starts at your glute and goes all the way down to your kneecap. And it's also connected to your patella tendon, which is the thick kind of stringy part underneath your knee or your kneecap. And it's also connected to a bunch of ligaments and whatnot. So when people come in, they get a bunch of knee pain and they don't really know what the cause is. For most people that haven't experienced a traumatic event, it's usually a patella tracking issue. So this kneecap is meant to float, and it's meant to move and glide smoothly within the knee joint. But when you have a mismatch of muscle activation, then you can cause issues, and that gives you a pain signal, which means that something's not right. Okay, so lost my train of thought. We'll get there. So the kneecap's floating, and what happens is you need good motor control, which is pretty much the coordination between the muscles in your leg to be able to make sure that it functions properly. And this is the best analogy that I give people is it's like a machine. So if all the clogs are moving well and they're well oiled and lubricated, the machine works perfectly fine. But if one of them is like not lubricated enough, or another one is kind of missing a part, then the whole system breaks down. It doesn't work properly, and you need to fix it. Okay, so same thing's happening with you. Something's happening in your body, something's not working properly. You get a warning signal, which is pain, to fix it, and my job's to figure out exactly what's going on. So usually when this happens, it is usually due to a weakness in your quad muscles, or an underactivation of your quad muscles, the medial quad to be specific, and an overactivation of the ITB. So going back to the machine analogy, if one part is not working, usually the machine can keep running and it's fine. And the only reason that happens is because the machine's kind of compensating somewhere else. So for example, if you're in, let's stray away from the machines and go to a workplace. If you're in a workplace, if everyone's working their fair share, no problems, job gets done, everyone's pretty happy. But then there's that one guy who's always lazy and doesn't want to do his job. So to make sure everything stays functional and well, someone has to pick up the slack. And over time, if that person keeps picking up the slack, they're underpaid and overworked, and they get very upset, and then the system breaks down, the guy gets pissy, and you get issues. So same thing is happening in your knee. In your knee, if it's not strong enough or it's not coordinated enough, it is going to try to compensate either above or below, usually above. So I mentioned before that you have an ITB that connects to your patella or your kneecap, and that ITB connects directly into your glutes. So if your knees aren't working properly, then your bum muscle is going to come in and do some of the work for you. And over time, if this mismatch continues, this tightening in your ITB happens, you can get this patella tracking issue. So given all that, the way we try to treat this is to increase the neural connection to your quad. So this is kind of like the mind muscle connection that a lot of people talk about. If we can get your quad firing more efficiently and at the right time and the right moment, you can decrease the activation or the need for your glute and your ITB to come in. So to fix this, usually you just got to train up your quad. And if you do need assistance, usually you can tape up your kneecap. I think I've got a video in my series of how to tape it up for that kind of issue. And at the same time, you need to stretch and release your ITB. Keep in mind that this is a very touchy subject. A lot of people say you can't really stretch fascia, you can't do that kind of stuff. I just do what works for me and my patients. So I find that if I release the ITB a little bit, if I stretch the glutes and kind of release the lateral side of the knee, it does release some of the pain and some of the symptoms that people do experience. So recap: overuse, knee injury, the most common is a patellofemoral tracking issue. Not a patellofemoral, a patella tracking issue, sorry. And to fix that, you got to train up your quad properly, release the outside of your knee, and you should feel better. So keep in mind, this is just general advice of what I find. None of this is specific to you. You're better off having a chat to a physio in person or meeting a health professional so they can give you some proper advice for your specific knee problem. Yeah, so this was a good workout. It felt pretty good to put on a little bit of weight, even though it's 40 kilos. This is like 40% of what I used to be doing, but is it 40%? No, there's 25% of what I used to be doing. But it feels good to move something relatively heavy, and it's helping my mental health, and I'm feeling a lot better and a lot happier and all that kind of stuff. And I'm keen to shred off the extra weight over the next couple months. So if you're enjoying this series, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing and watch me lose some weight and to start to feel better. And you can see how I progress over the next few months and years. And yeah, fun times. I hope you guys are having a good day or night wherever you are. Stay safe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.